and welcome to another episode of Bum with a Wrench. I'm your host Daniel, and we're back here working on the 68 Camaro. I got a lot of fittings in that I was talking about last time. Where I left you off last time was bending up the return line that's supposed to go back to the tank. Of course, you know, yeah, that didn't happen because it's somehow it came back off the car and rolled itself back up in zip ties. I don't know how that happened. It's crazy. I'll get to it. But a lot of the packaging came in for the fittings. So I got some of the dash 20s that came in for the cooling system, which I gotta, work out a few problems with that. I did get the valley pan in for the new valley pan, because the old one, remember, we were going to get rid of it because that PCV line. PCV, not PVC. Yeah, PCV. Positive crankcase ventilation. So that's on. Here, let me show you what I got. Get over here. You guys just standing over here. All right. So this is all torqued down. The little piece of tape there in the back that goes to the oil pressure sending unit, which you got to get. But I started working on this because I wanted to try and lay out where all of the steam pipe fittings go, because I need to get that on. Get the steam pipe fittings on, then I can get the lower manifold back on with the new injectors and the injector rails, and then I can start working on fuel. So I started putting these on, but then I quickly noticed that, I don't know if you guys can see, but that fitting right there basically is almost touching this little lip right here on the cylinder head. So that little sharp lip right there is basically getting in the way. I can't put a fitting on either one of these. So I need to grind this lip off. So to do that, I'm going to use my one of my porting tools, Dremel, with a very aggressive auger bit. I don't recommend doing this. There's other ways I could accomplish the final product, and that would be to order a new quarter MPT. Oh no, that's not quarter, that's eighth. Isn't that eighth? Yeah, eighth MPT to dash 4. And what they do is they make one with a little bit of a longer shank on the end of it, so that it would actually stick out past that pointy machined part on the cylinder head. But I don't want to spend the time nor the money to buy those. And those little, so that where they grooved out the cylinder head right there for the steam port, there's no reason why they couldn't have just gone straight across. There's no problem with any of that. So I'm not going to take off very much. We're only talking about just a little bit of that crown. This thing goes through aluminum like, a kid through chocolate cake. So you got to be careful. Don't take out too much. I'm going to get grinding away on that real quick. I'll put you guys back here off to the side for a second. And I'm going to take those fittings off, plug them off. I'm going to use the stock ports, well, not the stock ones, the ports that that Texas Speed put on the rear to plug it off. I believe those are in here. Nope, these valley pan bolts. I don't know, they're over here somewhere. So I'll locate those, get that blocked off. Sorry, you guys can't see me. Here, come check out my mess. You want to see my mess? This is what it looks like when you just go summit crazy. In here somewhere is my block off boards. Don't know where they are. I'll put that in there before I lose it. They just look like little doohickeys. I know they're not here. Over here, maybe? Nope. Not in there. Yeah. So, you know, when you buy a lot of crap, you lose stuff pretty quickly. Let me find those. All right, well, you know, let me get my ducks in a row and then find those block offs, and then I'll bring you guys back in. All right, guys, I got you set up in the engine compartment here. Sorry, I'm looking up my nose. That way you can kind of see what I'm doing. I already did the back, played around with a couple different ways of doing it. Narrowed it down to a die grinder with some very aggressive grit, and then polishing it out with like a another what do they call that stuff? You know, like this, polishing it out with that. I don't know, just like a finer grit. I don't know, still coarse. Starting out with I think this is 30. This is a ripper for sure. So you got to be careful, obviously, when you're in here. And basically all I'm trying to do is I'm trying to take this lip right here off both sides. So, you know, it goes pretty quick when you're getting in there. So you got to be careful that you're not, got to be careful what you're touching, because everything that you touch gets torn apart pretty fast because everything in here is aluminum. So I want to keep the aluminum dust out of the alternator. So I'm going to put this here, which is probably going to get caught up by that flapper disc. But so again, when you're modifying stuff, I mean, this is pretty much par for the course. Nothing ever just comes out of the box the way you want it. I wish it did. It would make life a lot easier. And even all the parts that I ordered, you know, they work, like I said, in your head, but then you actually put them on the car and you find out that the angles you were thinking would work don't work. Like this thing, these blocks that I was using is gummed up by this little sharp port here on the head. Now what's this, PRC heads, all they had to do was just machine that straight across and I wouldn't have had that problem. But, you know, something I can do, not a big deal. So let's get after it. So I'm going to start out with the rough, carefully, very, very carefully. It's probably going to get loud here, so, you know, turn your speakers down. All right, so I'm staying as flat as I can, and I'm just going to lightly touch it until I can get that piece pretty much flat, and then I'm going to come back and smooth it out. Here we go. That's about it. There's a little bit of a sharp edge there in the back where the machining tool kind of came to a stop. I'll clean that up with the smoothing disc. But you want to go real slow. Just try and keep it as flat as you can. You know, if this thing touches anything else, it's going to destroy it. So you got to be careful. Here we go. right, now we're going to switch out to the polishing one. Okay, the same thing, except for this time all we're trying to do is smooth it out. Here we go. Pretty good. Do it on this side. And that looks pretty good. It's hard to get over there by that head bolt, so there's a little bit of a sharp point right there in the back still. Let me get this one a little bit more. Kind of angle it up. Go slow. Work it in toward that head bolt. Don't want to change the shape of that thing too much. Again, all this one really does is just kind of polish the surface, so it's not really taking away a lot of material. But there's a little bit of the head bolt that was touched. That's the sparks you see flying, but that's it. Everything's fine. This one looks pretty good. Nice and flat, smooth. All right, let me put this down and then I'll get you guys over here so you can check it out. All right, looks like the compressor shut off at the right time. So this is the end product here. It's not perfectly smooth, of course. We're using a die grinder. We're not using a milling tool. So, but that's perfect. That gives me the clearance that I need now to be able to put my fitting coming off here with the little AN and without any interruption. Before I could put the fitting, but there was no way I could twist like this one here. See, this has got a straight on it. And so there was no room for the, you know, for the nut part of the straight to go on there. You couldn't even thread it. It wouldn't even go. There was barely enough room for the, for this here. So, but that's okay. We got it. We're good. It's getting pretty late here in the shop. Like I said, I've been promising my wife I'd be home as soon as I could. So let me let you guys go on this one. Let me see if I can get this mount out of here. No. Let me try. Hang on, hang on, hang on. I know you're looking at the ceiling. There we go. All right, how's the ceiling look? Is it nice up there? Is it nice? No. Okay, it's insulated. Okay. There we go. That way I can let you guys go professionally on the stand. All right, so yeah, that turned out pretty good. It went pretty fast. Again, if you're going to do something like that, be very careful. Know what you're grinding away. Know what you're doing is not going to affect anything in a catastrophic manner. Obviously, you don't want to cause any cracks or anything like that in your projects. But in this case, that little lip that was just not machined off by the manufacturer of the cylinder head, I mean, they could have easily just ran that machine over and it would have solved my problem. But that's okay. Nothing that a die grinder can't solve. Looks pretty good, you know, and it gives you that little touch of custom. So when people look at it, it's not just a bunch of stuff you bolted together. It shows that you really had to put some time and effort and thought into this. But in the end, I think it'll look really good. So with that said, I'm going to go home and get some dinner, and I will see you guys in the morning. Hopefully we can button up a lot more of this. All right, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. All right. Now I just gotta shut the lights off. Good morning, guys. First thing here in the morning, doing a little bit of work on the car. So I started doing TikTok just to kind of use it as like a commercial, really, for my channel. So if you're on TikTok and you're out there, look me up. I'd appreciate it. But so what I'm doing with TikTok, and I'm going to do Instagram the same because I know a lot of people use Instagram instead of TikTok. Basically, I'm just making little short videos in the morning, a couple minutes long, nothing big. I'm not trying to use it to supersede my YouTube channel. I just want to use it to promote my YouTube channel. But with that, I'm doing them every morning so you can kind of get an update on what's going on with the car a little bit sooner. A short update. It's obviously not as going to be as entailed as the build that's going on through my YouTube channel. But anyways, if you want to check it out, you can check it out. I haven't launched the Instagram account yet. I'll probably try and work on maybe that today. I don't know. But the TikTok account's up. I got a couple videos on there if you guys want to check it out. So yeah. Anyways, let me give you an update on what's happened. I went ahead and started plumbing in the steam pipe. Let me get you over here so you can check it out. Let me make sure my audio and everything's working. Yeah, everything seems to be working. How you guys doing? Yeah. All right. So I got started plumbing in the steam pipe. I got these fittings. I kind of liked them because they were shiny, just kind of blended in. But now I'm thinking that they should have been maybe black because the hoses are black going to them. I think maybe that would blend in a little bit more. When you're doing a build like this, it's not about just having everything just, you know, in your face, you know, shiny and you know, very out there. Some things you got to make look cool, but at the same time, you know, make it disappear. So if you look at this car and the hoses that I chose for this, they're really cool looking, but at the same time, when you just look at them, like we quickly look at the motor, these parts don't stand out to you. You know, that's I don't want to draw away from the motor itself by all this craziness, you know. And then I got my oil scavenge pipes here in the back. They blend into the firewall, you know. You don't really see them. And this thing, the catch can over here in the back, it's all black, really kind of blends in. It's just the right amount of flashy color, you know. You got to have that balance. And so, because remember, when this thing's all together, that whole top is polished. So if I have all this braided steel, just polished everything everywhere, you know, it kind of draws away from the whole build, at least in my mind. You know, I mean, you got to have that contrast. You got to have a lot of that cool looking stuff, but at the same time, you know, have a balance of what's going to be polished and what's not. Now, I didn't really have a choice on the accessory drive kit. I mean, I did, but every choice from Texas Speed was all chrome or polished or natural, or, you know, or not natural, but it was either polished or chrome, really, is what it was. So this was the free, well, not the free, you paid for it with the motor, but this was the non-upgraded kit there on the front. So it's already got some shiny bits on it. Of course, that big polished manifold up top. And then my plan is to have big runners coming off in stainless, and all that's going to be polished. So there's going to be a lot of polished going on. So, and then if you got all braided steel, shiny, you know, braided steel lines like these down in there, it's just so much. Also, the booster that's in the car, I think I was talking about that before, it's actually chrome, which I don't like. So either I'm going to paint it black or I'm going to change it. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it'll fit with this motor. If you look, especially with the oil scavenge right there, I mean, right there is where the booster goes, you know. So I don't know if the booster will actually go in this car. I think I need to put one more like what I put in my 65 hardtop, where it's a lot, you know, skinnier but longer. So, but anyways, enough of me talking because I do that a lot. What I'm going to do today is I'm just going to start working on this. I'm going to throw you on the stand over here in the corner so that you got this look this way. And then I'm not going to do the high speed like normal. I'm just going to film a whole bunch today and then probably end up just trimming it, cutting it, you know, doing the key points of the build parts. And obviously there'll be parts where I'll walk away that I'll cut out. But so that's my plan today. So what I want to do is hard mount these because those are just temporarily stuck on the firewall. I'm just trying to find position. The fuel pressure regulator is actually going to move over just a tickle, and the catch can is going to stay where it is. I like that location for that. The pressure regulator just needs to move over just a tad. So I'll move that over. Then I'm going to slap the fuel rails on it. I still haven't changed the injectors because I don't want to do that until I'm ready to final mount and everything. This is just sitting on here. It actually has tape, masking tape down the runners. I have that sitting there because I needed to see this for the steam pipe. Now the fitting on the back of that steam pipe is not right. I need a 45. I'm waiting for that to come in. So this is not bolted back down yet. And it's not going to be for probably quite a while, but I can still drop the fuel rails on it and build the plumbing for the fuel. So that's my plan today. I want to try and get those hard mounted and get the fuel ran and done. I'm waiting for fittings for the AN for the radiator. The bottom one there was really hard. Why am I? That's strange. I hope that doesn't show up in the video. There's like some messed up stuff right here on the film. I don't know if the camera is going crazy or what, but hopefully that doesn't show up. But if it does, sorry for, you know, this stuff right here. Anyways, maybe I can get it to go away. Nope, it just wants to be there. Yay, GoPro life. Oh, it doesn't show it on the front, so maybe it's not there. Sorry. If it's not there and you're like, what are you talking about? On the back screen, it's got like this, it looks like, you know, craziness. Anyways, sorry. Let me get back to it. What was I talking about? Oh, fittings here in the front. So I bought 45s, and you can see the distance. Let me get you in an angle where you can see. So the distance between this AN fitting and that AN fitting down there is really close. It's not a solid mounted engine. It does have polyurethane bushings mounting it down there. However, this motor's not going to move a lot. I don't have a lot of hoses. I'm very concerned for that, to be honest with you. Very concerned. But I don't have any options. I looked last night to see if they had a left-hand, you know, ports on the left-hand side instead of the right-hand side. That would be great for me. I could run hoses down and then go in, and there would be lots of flexibility. They don't make it. Everything's all right-hand side. So I'm stuck with what I have. I just have to make it work, and hopefully it doesn't flex and break and, you know, I don't know. So I really don't want to go to just regular hoses because it's not that kind of build. So I don't know. I'm going to try it, see how it works. If it breaks, I don't know, I'll have to figure something out, I guess. But for now, that's what I got. Let me put you guys on hold for a second. I'll get you on the stand. I'll get you in the engine bay. Let me get all my ducks in a row and get all the parts out and get ready to start working on this thing. And then I'll turn the camera on and we'll get moving. All right, guys, give me a minute. Back. We're here on the car still, of course. I kind of got cameras set up this time. I've got 3 different cameras running, looking at the car. So I'm hoping what I can do with this is capture different angles, and then I'm also running my microphone standalone, so I'm gonna have to try and sync audio. So this is gonna be fun. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and just remove the pressure regulator. Let me kind of see, this is why I want to move it over a little too close to this pickup tube. And so I just want to bump it over just a little tiny bit. Just a little. And so I only have one screw in the bottom of it, holding it on, because I was just going for fitment. So I'll set this down over here, and we'll circle back to this here in a minute. So my plan is to, let me see if I can move this other camera. Hang on, guys. 1 second while I try and move this camera over. Let me see if I can get another angle. Because I got two cameras in the same spot. And that's just, you know, repetitive. So I'm trying to give you guys as many angles as I can without it being in my way too much. There we go, that's better. What's that do? Yeah, that kind of gets you down into the thick of it. Let me get you down a little farther. There we go. Put you up because that's where we're working. Okay. So the plan is make sure all belt buckles and metal devices are covered. Reaching over the fender, make sure the hood's up. It is. So if you see here, I had a coil stuck right here in this location. And basically, what I wanted to do is I wanted to utilize those two holes for this bracket. However, as you can see, the holes are wider than the holes in the bracket. Of course, I could wobble out the holes in the bracket. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the bracket away from this piece here. So, what I would like to do is take that bolt off for one. Let's try this again. Alright, get this off. And what I'm hoping I can do is mount it here. That gets it up and away from that. Nice room there. Yep. Okay. This needs to be shortened a little. That's okay. Alright, I like that. It's up a little more. It's over a little more. I could go over and it would push it down a little bit as well to that next fitting. And then as far as that other little nutsert that's in the firewall, I'll just plug that with a stainless button head Allen, and then that'll be fine. So I think that's good. Those things are getting so hot. Let me grab a fan, see if I can cool those things down. Oh, in here, there's fans, right? Yeah. Okay. All right, guys, sorry if you get a little wind noise. I have to put a fan on these GoPros, otherwise they're going to overheat. I am looking at a different camera system. I also have my Canon. It's an older Canon, but I'm going to see if the video quality on that actually comes out pretty good. Sorry, I don't mean to talk so much about my problems recording, but yeah. So I'm looking into another camera, but they are very expensive. So, okay, back to the even more expensive Camaro. Okay, so I like that. I think that's going to work well. Let me just check the level on that real quick and make sure that's level. Yeah, it seems to be pretty much right there. Needs a little tweak. There we go. That seems pretty good. Is that good? You like it? Okay. Let me check it. I'm sorry, I'm getting my big old head in your way. Yeah, I like that. That's good. Okay. If you're worried about the intake manifold being open, I think I showed you that it's got tape over the ports, so you don't have to worry about that too much. And then as far as the exhaust ports, they are open, as well as no spark plugs in the motor. But, I mean, your odds of dropping something down in an exhaust port that has to first go up is, you know, pretty low. So, not worried about it too much. And the reason I don't have spark plugs in it is because I put a camera down each cylinder to inspect the cylinder for one, and then two, make sure that, you know, during the COVID times, because that's when this motor was built, you know, Good morning, everybody. Back here on the 68 Camaro, of course. Got a lot done yesterday. Was trying out a new video style, so I hope that turns out good because, you know, we'll find out when I go to edit it. So, what we're doing today is mainly waiting for parts because I thought today was Friday for some reason. And Friday is when a bunch more fittings and parts are supposed to show up for this car. So, I do have some stuff, and I have parts that I can keep going. I have headers and stuff I can weld, and transmission, still got to cut the hole in the floor for that, tighten up the motor mounts. There's quite a few things I can still do to this car. So, I'm just really trying to get this portion of the car done. You know, trying to stay focused on one portion at a time. But I do have other things that I can jump into while I wait. Although I think the stuff that I have planned for today will probably take up most of the day. Let me show you what I did and how it turned out, just in case that video style that I recorded in yesterday doesn't work out too well. We'll see though. So yesterday did final fitment of the catch can and the fuel pressure regulator. Now, one thing I want to point out, and I know you're probably thinking to yourself like, Daniel, that was all day and you got those two things done. Well, you know, I had to make sure that they were in the right place for one. And then two, you know, those are rib nutted to the firewall. I also took the brackets off, cleaned them up, media blasted them, and painted them. And then got some really nice button head, Allen heads for them, and got those mounted on the firewall. Now, when you're over there and you were looking at that, you probably didn't even see the brackets behind there. That's kind of the point. You know, it's the little things when you're doing a build that really make the most, are the most important. They make the most difference in a build. If I were to not, you know, clean those up, media blast them, painted them, took the time to actually do that. Because you got to remember, hey, paint something, media blast it, that's pretty quick. But paint something, you're putting, you know, slow coats on there so that, you know, it turns out right. So, you know, took a couple hours probably to paint those until where they were dry enough to where I could actually touch them and put them on the car. So, it takes time, but it's time well spent. Because in the end, you can't see them. You know, if I weren't to do that, and I just bolted them on the car, you would see this metal bracket, you know, behind the piece. Now you don't see anything. It looks like a catch can hovering there and a, you know, fuel pressure regulator just hovering there. That's awesome. I don't want to draw attention away from, you know, the other parts of the car that are more standout, you know, like the intake manifold or the other shiny bits that are actually on here. I'm trying to do a good balance of shiny bits and not shiny bits, putting a lot of contrast in there, staying, you know, in that mindset. So, you know, it's important that I get that, stay on that path, you know, and so blacking those out there in the back, I mean, just makes it look that much better. I did drop the intake manifold back on. Again, it's just sitting there. It's sitting there. There's still tape underneath the ports and everything to keep the motor safe. It's sitting there because I wanted to pull reference on how much room I actually have between the intake manifold and the engine block and all that kind of stuff to run the crossover. Well, as you can see, you know, I can throw dinner parties in there. I mean, that is a massive amount of space, which is great. You know, that's kind of what I'm going for. I don't want to muck everything up by putting too much in one spot, but at the same time, obviously, I've got to do the crossover. So basically, I wanted to know what kind of hoop that I needed to put in for that crossover. Now I know I can just kind of do whatever I want, whatever looks the best. So that's what I'm going to do. I also can go ahead and run the fuel line off the back of this rail over to the pressure regulator. So now I can spend the time and figure out exactly how I'm going to do that, because I have that catch can crossover going right there with a Adele clamp there on the firewall. There was already a hole in the firewall that was never used when we had purchased the car. Like somebody had put a hole there and then just like never done anything with it. And then they just put some mastic over the other side of it and just kind of covered it up. It was basically perfect sized for a quarter 20 rib nut. And I needed something there to hold that anyways. So there you go. I filled the hole and I got a mounting point out of it. Normally I wouldn't do that kind of stuff, but this kind of needed it. So, but with that said, now I have to run a fuel line over there. So I don't want to just run a fuel line over there and cross this line. It's just, it makes it, just aesthetically not very appealing. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to come off this rail here, kind of drop down over across the scatter plate there, and then come back up into a 90 into the pressure regulator. That's my plan. Right now, that's what I think I'm going to do. But honestly, as I start to do it and I lay it out and I see how it's going to look, that may change. Honestly, at this point, it's a lot of form and function, but it's also aesthetics. Obviously, this car is extremely beautiful. There's a lot of really cool things on this car, and you can gum that up very quickly by just throwing parts at it and not really paying attention to how they're, I don't want it to look like a new car. You pop the hood on a new Camaro or, Corvette or something. They're really cool, but it's also got all those lines just running all over the place. I don't want it to look like that. I'm trying to keep a classic look as much as possible, that clean classic look. So that's why I'm going to run all the wires underneath the intake manifold so you don't see any of that stuff. It's not laying on top of the valve covers. It's underneath where you can't see it, and then poking through the firewall in the back where you don't see it. So it takes a lot of time, but it's worth it in the end. Believe me, it's very worth it in the end. So that's my plan today. I'm going to get jumping on that. So let me get that front crossover made up, and then I'll go ahead and bring you guys back in, and we'll take a look at that. And then maybe by then I'll have a better idea of what I'm going to do for that back piece going into that regulator. And then I have some AC lines I can do and some heater hose lines I can do. I have some fittings showed up for that. So, all right, guys, give me a couple minutes. Let me get this made up, and then we'll see how it turns out. All right, guys, back here on the 68 Camaro again, still, as always. It's slow going, honestly, it really is. Building a car of this level, it's all slow going. It's ordering fittings and parts, trying them out, see if it works. Most, 75% of what you order works, the other 25 doesn't. And you got to find another way to do what you wanted to do. So, it's like I said before, it's a lot of fitting, taking off fitting, taking off fitting, taking off fitting, until you can get it right. So let me get you in here and show you what I've done recently. So I think I told you guys, or showed you guys, all the fittings and stuff, hard mounted all of this, got the straps, got all that kind of stuff done. Steam pipe is just about completely finished, but then I went ahead and rethought it because of where that fitting comes out right there. Even if I put a 45 on it, I don't think it's gonna come out right. But anyways, I'll talk about that in a second. I went ahead and made the AC lines. I was gonna bring you guys in for that, and I totally forgot. You get your head in the game and you just start working away. And I totally forgot to kind of bring you guys back in on that. But the AC lines are made. I made those. They fit perfect, really, honestly. You don't need to order AC lines. You just make your own. So you can buy all the fittings and parts and stuff off of Summit. And then I have this really neat tool that was fairly inexpensive. Bought this off of Amazon, as always. Buy everything off of Amazon because, I'm not going to waste money on expensive tools that I don't use all the time. But even at that thing works great. It comes in this case, It's got all the little different straps and stuff. And basically what you do with this is you find you fit your piece. So you're going to fit everything before you crimp anything, and then you clock it. So you fit everything exactly the way you want it, and then basically take a Sharpie and just draw a line, draw a line on the fitting, draw a line on the hose, make sure that's exactly clocked where you want it. And then you come over to this tool here, you lock it in place, you know, lock that in place. It's all hydraulic. And then you just start squeezing, you know, this is a little pump. You start squeezing it. And what I usually do on this, and kind of a pro tip, at least with this tool, I noticed that a lot of fittings were messed up in the way that I'm going to explain. What I do is as I crimp it about halfway, undo it, and then clock it 45 degrees. And the reason I do that is because in this spot right here, where the jaw's open, what it likes to do is it likes to make this little wing that comes out. And so you get this nice clamp, but then you got these two wings that hang out. But if you half crimp it and then you clock it, you know, a quarter turn and then crimp it the rest of the way, it does a perfect crimp every single time, and you don't get those little wings that hang off. Let me see if I can find one of the old fittings that I cut off to kind of explain to you what I'm talking about here. Yeah, right here. This got one? No, that's a really nice fitting actually. That's probably a vintage air. Once these fittings are used and you cut them, there's no saving it. I mean, there's really nothing wrong with this thing, but you can't, they don't sell the collars. And even at that, the collars are kind of pressed onto the fitting. So, you know, once you cut the fitting off, they're just kind of done. There's nothing you can do to try and save them. I tried once to see if maybe I could find the collars and, you know, just to try and be cheap and reuse one. But I couldn't. Sorry, I'm being a trash digger right now trying to find that other fitting that I cut off so I can show you what I'm talking about. But yeah, I don't see it. So I guess enough being a trash digger. Anyways, yeah, make your own AC lines. Super simple. You know, play with it. The first couple lines you make, you'll probably be careful with. But then once you get the hang of it, you know, they come out looking like that. You see, you get a nice perfect crimp when you clock them. If you don't, like where this little line is right here, it'll just kind of flare out, and it just doesn't look good. I'm sure it functions just fine. It just doesn't look good. That's why I clock them. Anyways, enough of that. You'll notice that I did get the heater core also plumbed in. You know, that was simple. Just ran the lines over and trimmed the hoses, stuck them on. Still got to put some clamps on it. But one thing this car did really well over the last couple of years is actually just leak coolant. I swear, every time we moved this car, it would leak coolant. And I'm like, you have no motor. You have no radiator. How are you leaking coolant? But it was, you know, the heater core. It would slosh in the heater core and then come out the lines. So at least this car's not going to leak coolant anymore. That's nice. You'll also notice down in this area right here, I've got the dash 20s kind of, they're just hand tight. I was just seeing how the fitment is. They point at each other pretty close enough to where I can actually make that line now. So I'm going to make that line and I'm going to redo the steam pipes. And that's about what I can do under the hood at this time. Until I get more fittings. I'm waiting for the fitting to come in, the adapter for the water pump. So when that comes in, because there's a neat little Auto Plumb, I think is the company that makes it. They make a fitting that goes onto that to convert it to AN, which is really cool. I watched a couple videos on that the other night. Really neat fitting. Awesome company to work with too. When I placed my order, they sent me a message and said, hey, you know, we can send you the cooling parts that you ordered. I also ordered some fittings for the fuel system because they actually have some fuel system fittings that'll work with the high pressures. So they said, hey, we have the cooling system fittings, but we don't have the fuel, you know, the other crimp fittings. And so that we can ship you the cooling ones now, or we can just ship it all together in, you know, in about 15 days. And I'm like, well, I really need the cooling parts right now. If you could ship those, and they're like, sure, yeah, no problem. We'll go ahead and ship those out right away. Awesome company. I mean, you know, I'll tell you what, the one thing, like when you work with a company that really cares enough to actually reach out to you and say, hey, you know, I'll give you the option. Do you want these? Do you want this now, or you know, do you want to just wait for the whole order to be filled? That is super cool. Awesome company. Check them out if you're looking to convert really anything to AN. They had conversions for AC lines to AN. You know, I love AN, so I was going nuts. But I had to, you know, dial it down a little bit because my brain was thinking, you know, I can convert the, you know, the AC lines to AN. I can convert the heater lines to AN. I mean, the whole car will be AN underneath. It'll look awesome. And then I'm like, whoa, you know, slam the brakes. It's a little much. So, you know, I went ahead and dialed it back for a second. It was a little too much, but they do offer a lot of parts. Check them out. I'm not sponsored by them. I just had a really good experience with them. You know, I love giving, you know, companies their due when it's due, and believe me, everything they did from the very start of my order up till now has been completely awesome. So check them out. Auto Plumb. As far as today, like I said, I'm going to try and get that lower radiator hose plumbed up. I'm going to redo the steam pipes, and really that's about it. I'm going to start probably, I'm going to come in on Sunday. I was going to come in this whole weekend, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to spend Saturday with my son. So I'm going to come in Sunday, and I'm probably going to start on the return line, that 3/8 stainless steel return line that I told you guys on the end of the last episode that I was going to make, that I still have not made. So I do need to get that done and out of the way. As far as the fittings and everything underneath the hood right here, it's really getting to the point where I'm almost done under the hood and it's time to get into wiring. Like I said, I'm trying to get this part finished so that I can move to the next part, which would be the hard lines, and then it would be to the tank. And then when I get to the tank, then I'm going to run the wires for the tank up into the car. At that point, the motor under the hood will be done, plumbed. Underneath the car will be done, plumbed. The tank will be done, plumbed. And then I need to, you know, just button up a few other things. I'm waiting on the exhaust manifolds right now because not having them on the car makes it very nice to work on. I do have pictures of them on the car, so I kind of have a good idea on the space that I have to work with. And then if I do get into something where I'm not sure, they go on the car so easy, I can just slap them up there real quick and check them out. But for right now, I'm going to leave those off of the car. So I do need to weld on those, and I have some other fittings for the, I have some 45s with a O2 bung welded into them that I need to fit to those. I'm not worried about that right now. I'm trying to get all of the plumbing done so that I can get into the wiring of this car. Because at that point, once all the plumbing's done and it's time to go ahead and get into the wiring, I want to just solely spend all of my time on that. I want to put 100% of my thoughts and effort just into that, and I don't want to have to think about, you know, exhaust or, you know, cutting a bigger hole in the floor for the transmission. So I'm going to get all of those things done first. You know, hooking up the power steering is one thing I have left to do underneath the hood that I haven't even looked at yet. But I mean, it's pretty straightforward and simple. So also as well, I need to fix the steering shaft. There's a little list. Maybe I should get the whiteboard out here, you know, and start to make a list. That might not be a bad idea, so I can kind of organize my thoughts and what things I need to prioritize on, what things I can do. However, I am going to end this episode here. I feel like I have quite a bit of video, even though I haven't gone back and looked at the video. I think I've got quite a bit. I know it doesn't look like a lot's been done, but believe me, I've spent days doing this. It's slow going, and it really is. Anybody that has a project at home that really takes the time to go to this extent to kind of make everything look perfect knows how slow it actually goes. You know, I'll spend all day on this and barely get anything done, but it's the fitment, it's the look, it's the finish, it's looking at something and then trying to make it fit, you know. At first I ordered the lower, those dash 20s were 45s. I figured 45s would work. I was doing the math, looking at the angles. Two 45s should point at each other. No, they didn't. They were way too far off. So then I had to reorder dash 20, 60 degrees. And then it's a matter, not only are you looking at the different degrees of the fittings and everything else, the different manufacturers make them differently. So where Earl's fitting may be shaped, you know, with a longer tube on a 60, a Vibrant, you know, whatever, Motorsports, or what are they calling themselves? Vibrant Performance. Their hoses are a little bit, at least with my experience of them, they're a little bit shorter. So if you're needing more room, the different manufacturers, just because the shape is somewhat the same, doesn't mean the actual overall size of it's going to be the same. So it's going through those different fittings, and really you can't tell unless you order them. And you know, and when you're ordering a Dash 20, some of these fittings, like an Earl's Dash 20, is like $150. So unfortunately, I don't have any Earl's Dash 20s. In my mind, that was just way out of control. Where I can go buy a Vibrant Performance for 60 bucks, you know, more than half the cost of an Earl's fitting, and it looks and performs just the same. So there may be some people, you know, that are arguing that fact right now, but however, they do look nice, they perform nice. I mean, we are just talking about heater hoses here. So so that's what I'm doing. I am staying, everything else on the car is Earl's except for the heater hoses, because that is ridiculous. I'm not paying that. So there's those factors that come into it. It's a lot of doing research, you know, measuring angles, doing all that kind of stuff. For instance, right now on that lower hose, now that I have the two fittings that look right for each other, what I need to do now is I'm actually going to take and cut a section of Dash 20, a small section. I don't need very much. And then I'm going to install one fitting into it. So I'm going to measure the whole hose, right? Install one fitting into it, and then I'm going to put a dial caliper down and touch basically the fitting, and measure from the fitting, the end of the fitting, all the way to the end of the hose. And what that's going to tell me is that's going to tell me how far the hose is actually mating onto the fitting, right? That way I can do an accurate calculation on how much hose I need to hang off, how much hose I need to be exposed, and how much hose is actually going to go up into that next fitting. Because as you saw right there, that's a very tight space. There's no room to really, you know, finagle the hose in. It has to be perfect. So, you know, those types of calculations, that kind of stuff, doing that kind of work is just time consuming. But those are things that you have to do to build a really good quality car. Something that fits really well, and something that you're really not just throwing parts at. You're not just trying to, I'm not just trying to get this car done. I'm trying to build the car to the best of my ability, you know, really, and make it the best car it possibly can be. So it does take a little bit of time, but I do appreciate all of you guys for watching. I know the views on this car a lot less than I thought they would be, honestly. I got more people interested in the 7-liter and the 65 hardtop than this car. I really thought there'd be a lot of people interested in this car. I have started a TikTok. So if you are, you know, following the car and you want to kind of stay up to date on a day-to-day kind of basis with short little 2-minute videos, check out my TikTok. I am going to start an Instagram. I'm, you know, just being overwhelmed with so much work to do, though. You know, managing all these different platforms and that kind of stuff is hard. So, and I got to build the car. So, but anyways, if you're interested, check that out. Otherwise, thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already done so, please like and subscribe. Tell a friend. If you got a guy that's, hey, you know, he's a Chevy guy or a Camaro guy or whatever, you know, send them a little message. Hey, check out this channel, you know. If you guys got any suggestions for me, any comments, you know, throw them in the comment section. I really appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. And as always, until next time, you guys.